Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another session of 5DT. I'm Jacqueline Middleton. This is Jacqueline Middleton Coaching YouTube channel. I'm a spiritual coach and an intuitive, and I am so happy to have with me again today Christina from Zenith Glow Astrology. Hello, Christina. Christina is an awesome depth astrologer, and she focuses on evolutionary astrology, and she weaves in psychology and spirituality, and she talks about alchemy. She's got it all going on, I'm telling you. And I have been lucky enough to have a personal astrology reading with Christina, and it was so eye-opening, especially for these times we're going through with all the transformative energies we're moving through. So I definitely recommend if you want to get an astrology reading to get in touch with Christina. So without further ado, welcome, Christina. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thanks for having me. I'm doing very, very well in spite of all of these energies that we're moving through right now. I'm going to say in spite of, supported by. I'm supported by the energies. That's why I'm doing so well. But yeah, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, doing good. I absolutely am feeling these huge energies. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some days, well, a lot of days right now, it definitely takes more centering and grounding. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, between the annular eclipse that we're going to be in tomorrow, and also tomorrow the start of the lunar Chinese New Year of the fire horse, big energies. And then you throw in a whole bunch of M-class solar flares that we've had in the last week, and it's keeping us on our toes as far as staying grounded and centered, that's for sure. And speaking of which, to let everybody know out there, my internet's been a little bit wonky today, so hopefully we won't have any problems. But if you see me freeze like that, unfortunately, it means my internet's a little choppy, but we'll get through as best as we can. So yeah, Christina, tell us about well, you take it wherever you want. Tell us about the astrological energies that we're moving through right now, and see what we can do to help people understand why they might be feeling the way they're feeling these days with all these energies, and just what these energies mean. Yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, there is just so much going on, and that's part of why it's so intense because it's not just one thing. It's like hitting us from all these different angles. So, yeah, you mentioned, we have an eclipse tomorrow, and just so everyone knows, eclipses are very intense, powerful energy, and they bring huge change and transformation no matter what, no matter what other alignments are going on with them or what dates or energetic portals they're coordinating with, they're always going to bring intense change and transformation because the whole point of an eclipse is to take you into a different octave of your journey. Like we move on these consistent paths, throughout our lives, and then we learn our lessons, and then we kind of get crystallized and rigid within those paths, and then it's time to shift and move, and the eclipses help us to make those moves and help us to transform, whether that's happening on like a deep internal level or through external changes and events that happen in our lives, oftentimes both. And so this eclipse, we feel that eclipse energy 6 to 8 weeks before it happens. We start to feel the energy flood in, and then it gets more and more intense the closer we get to the eclipse. So we're recording this the day before. And yeah, we've been in this energy already. So keep that in mind just as one piece of the puzzle. And then also know that with eclipses, they introduce those changes. We usually feel a peak of energy in the 3 day window surrounding an eclipse, but it can take up to 6 months to see what changes, what transformation has been precipitated by that event. We kind of watch it unfold. So it's like something is seeded during the eclipse or ignited in the case of the fire horse. And then we get to watch how it all plays out. But in addition to our eclipse, wow, there's just so many, there's so many things. We, like you said, we have Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, which is the year of the fire horse starting tomorrow. So we're feeling that energy because, energy is fluid. So we're feeling it already. We've been feeling that energy kind of start to pour in. At the same time, we're still in the wood snake energy. And particularly today, that is a very heightened energy. It's similar in astrology to planets being at the anaretic degree, where you're standing on the cusp between two different signs. It's like you are sort of having one foot in the past and one foot in the future. So it's a threshold point, right? It's a liminal space. So it's uncomfortable because we're not really here and we're not really there. We're in both places and we're in neither places. And it's like a
Oh,
paradox.
oh,
It's so
exactly. Oh,
uncomfortable. Yeah.
yeah, you just described that so well because I got to say, I'm completely feeling that way today. Maybe it's partly heightened too by the fact that I am a wood snake. And yeah, in this last 24 hours of, oh my gosh, shed all the last of the stuff I need to shed while having one foot, yeah, in the eclipse portal of get on your fire horse and ride. I I definitely I'm gonna just put that out there right now. If I seem a little scattered today, it's probably because I'm feeling like, yeah, one foot in the wood snake year, one foot in the fire horse year, and in between all that, an eclipse. Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're all probably feeling that, to a certain degree. And I feel a little bit, I don't know, I'm in my like hyper Uranian energy today, which is one of my moods that I'm in. Yeah, because I'm affected by Uranus pretty strongly. So yeah, having that Aquarius eclipse, it can bring a lot of it's a lot of communication, whether that's happening between two people having a conversation, but also from a higher level, we're receiving a lot of mental activity. And then I did a reading on this, a tarot reading that was part of my eclipse video that I did recently. And I didn't even really get to talk about this because I got distracted when I was talking about other aspects of it in the video. But one of the cards that I pulled was telepathy. And that is part of what's going on right now. Like we are having telepathic communication occurring right now. Like that's something that's very heightened. So we are telepathically receiving information through spirit, through these higher energies. But then we're also telepathically connected with people that we are linked to, through that red thread or whatever you want to call it, and the collective energies as well. So there's just a bombardment of the mind right now. And that's why what you were just saying, about grounding and how important it is to ground at this time. And that's actually in the astrology because we have Uranus in Taurus and it is squaring this eclipse in a very close aspect. So squares bring tension and friction because you have two, it's at a right angle. You have two planets that are like gridlocked and they want different things. So it's sort of like this eclipse is taking us higher into that like energy, and with the thoughts and with the changes and the elevation, right? But then you have Uranus kind of saying, well, you need to ground, you need to get into your body, you need to anchor these frequencies into 3D reality, whether that's literally in the earth or, whether you're making tangible plans or
Yeah.
however it shows up. We have to anchor it basically. And that's kind of a
Yeah.
tricky thing because you're literally being pulled in two different directions. So again,
Absolutely.
threshold, right? Like you're literally being pulled in two different directions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very uncomfortable.
It
So
feels
everyone just
very
hang
much like that. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Didn't
surrender, just allow it to be what it is, right? Like it doesn't need to be any feeling floaty, or if you're feeling unanchored, or if you're feeling emotional, it's like you were saying, that last bit of clearing out with the wood snake. I just got this vision in my mind of so many times in my life that I have moved because I've moved a lot. And there have been so many times where I'm like down to the wire and it's like 11 p.m. and I'm like practically shoveling things into a moving truck, like just trying to get things out of the house, like last minute panicking. It kind of feels a little bit like that, like we're clearing the last remnants,
Yeah,
because we want to start with as clean of a slate as we can moving into
yeah,
this fire horse energy. Um,
yeah. No,
so
that's a really good description. Again, yeah, that's I can relate to that feeling in this, probably especially in this last 24 hours before the eclipse and the change of the Lunar New Year. It is kind of that feeling of like, I think internally it's like, okay, what have I not brought up from the basement that might need to be brought up and get rid of and leave behind. And uh and I have to say too, what you said about telepathy increasing. Oh my gosh, yeah. I've had several experiences of that in the last week with family members. With my husband and I, our telepathy just seems to be increasing all the time. It's incredible. But also with some other family members, a couple of nephews that I was thinking of that live far away, and just having some communication when you're both thinking of each other, just things like that. It's pretty beautiful to watch how telepathy is definitely increasing. I think I have no doubt that at some point down the road, who knows how long, but humans are going to go. I think it's going to be a return to actually telepathic communication, more and more so for sure. But yeah, that feeling you described of kind of like, yeah, there's a rush to get rid of or get hold of what we need to get hold of before this Lunar New Year changes. And I've found as well, I've been having really vivid dreams. And I think also, like at night while sleeping, having these really vivid dreams. And I think that's also just a reflection of, our souls know we need to bring stuff up from the basement, from the subconscious. And one of the best ways that can happen is in dreams. And I was thinking the other day, boy, this is a good year, of any time for people to, if it interests them at all, to try and start doing dream analysis. Because, boy, there's no better way to get to learn what's in our subconscious that otherwise we wouldn't see or be aware of. And dream analysis is amazing. It's so much about taking a little side shoot here, but it is such a powerful way for us to get to know ourselves. And that is so much a part of this ascension journey, is to know ourselves as much as we can, because that's such a big part of our emotional healing, which is tied in with our sovereignty. Standing in our sovereignty is a reflection of how much emotional healing work we've done. And boy, if we can get into dream analysis, it just opens up a whole world of wisdom about ourselves that we otherwise might miss out on. So just had to throw that in there. But boy, you've described the energies well. It's there's a lot happening right now, big time. Yeah.
Well, I love that you bring up dream analysis because it's so true, and it's actually very on par with the astrology, with what's going on right now. Not only with this eclipse, because with this eclipse, we have Venus conjunct the North Node in Pisces at 8 degrees, which is a degree of transformation. So if she's conjunct the North Node, which is what we're moving into, which is that Pisces energy, and Pisces relates to dreams. It's ruled by Neptune. It has to do with the collective consciousness, and the psychic information that comes to us, right? And surrendering to that process. It's very like fluid, but that also means that she's in opposition to the South Node, which is in Virgo. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and it's all about the analytical mind and being able to parcel things out in detail and understand them on a conscious linear level. So we are sort of like balancing between our need to understand things from that cognitive linear level with this call to move more into that fluid, dream-like kind of understanding of ourselves, our journey, our reality, kind of moving more into the heart energy of it. Um, at the same time, we also have Mercury in Pisces, and it is pre retrograde. So it's going to go retrograde on February 25th. So we're very, very close to its retrograde period. And it is making a trine aspect, which is a harmonious fluid aspect to Jupiter, which is still retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So you're talking about, Mercury, the mind, in this fluid, dreamy sign of Pisces, water sign, making a trine to Jupiter in Cancer, another water sign. We're talking about, exactly what you just said, pulling things up from the basement and, letting things surface into the conscious mind through this kind of like more fluid, psychic, dreamy type of communication, which again, that's where the telepathy comes in as well. And just sort of having heightened intuition at this time. And one thing I wanted to point out, that Virgo South Node makes us want to grab hold of everything and organize it and understand it and control it. And it is really important to release that need for control at this time because it's just going to get in the way of what's flowing in. And so that's part of this energy of Pisces is sort of like letting go and let God, like allowing things to unfold the way they are meant to. Don't worry about shoveling everything into the back of the moving van at the last minute to getting every little scrap like I like to do, because I have some strong Virgo energy in my chart. And I totally understand this need to want to like control and feeling like if I don't do that, I'm going to miss out on something or I'm going to mess something up. But there really is nothing to be messed up because you're exactly where you need to be. Things are unfolding exactly as they are meant to. We are all guided. We chose to be here at this point for a reason. We've already done all the work, to be honest, through this last year. We are exactly where we need to be right now. And it's just a matter of letting go so that you can cross that threshold and move
Yeah.
into this portal.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And it's one of the biggest challenges on our spiritual paths and our spiritual growth is that surrender and let go and go with the flow. And I'm, getting that image, the spirit's popping it into my head of holding on to the bank of the river, but no, you got to let go and just let yourself flow downstream. And because the truth is we're never in control. We might think we are, and there might be small bits of life that we can control here and there, but for the most part, like you say, the more we can let go and go with the flow, the more we're going to be in alignment with our divine path. And that's what divine timing is. We can just as you said so beautifully there, we can really never be out of alignment with divine timing, because divine timing, that's what it is. When we're ready for a lesson, it comes along, and not a moment before and not a moment later. So it maybe if we can remind ourselves of that, then we can relax a little bit more into it. And I remember you saying, I think, something about in the astrology too, with this eclipse there can be energies or situations that could kind of come out of the blue and be surprising for us, almost shocking. And again, that's where I think we have to just trust and go, okay, even though this may come as a surprise, something that comes, that happens in your life, it's in divine timing and it's for our highest good, right? For our growth.
Absolutely. That is the energy of Uranus squaring the eclipse. And mind you, Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is where the eclipse is happening. So its energy is super prominent and it tends to bring very rapid changes that are very unexpected and can be kind of jolting because Uranus's MO is freedom and authenticity first and foremost. And it doesn't really care how it gets there. It's
Yeah.
not gentle. It will deliver sudden shocks, sudden insights, upheaval changes that catch you, out of the blue. But again, it's all there to shift you in the ways that you need to be shifted. Because again, we've all become sort of crystallized in this old timeline. We've been in the old energies. And that's something that came through. I mentioned before we started that I pulled a few cards just to check, like, hey, what do I need to make sure I talk about today? And one of the things that came through is that this old timeline is really ending. And it's going to be a little bit hard to let go because we're so used to that energy. We're so ingrained in things being hard, in
Yeah.
carrying a burden, and feeling like there's this weight holding us down, this responsibility, and just this heaviness in general of like doom and gloom, and I have to work so hard to get to a space of lightness and freedom, and
Yeah.
everything comes, slowly, and I have to
Yeah.
work within the system, and it has to, it's this
And
old
that's,
time.
sorry, I was going to say is that come from Saturnian energy? Is that the kind of energy? Yeah.
It's the old Saturnian energy, and in Saturn, not to knock Saturn. Saturn has a very important purpose in astrology, but again, every planet has higher and lower expressions, and that's the like rigid controlling matrix of it all, the Saturn structure, right? That's the system that we're all in, and that we have to play the rules in order to belong to society and fit in and all that stuff. And Uranus is sort of like, well, I don't give an F about F. And like, I screw your system. Like, this is very like limiting. And I want to break out of this. Like, I'm not growing anymore, and I'm not being true to myself. And this
Yeah.
isn't serving anyone because I can see way down the line. And this is where we're all going to end up if we stay on this track. So Uranus has the future vision, and it works in coordination with Saturn. Saturn teaches us discipline, and it teaches us perseverance and strength. And it ultimately helps us cultivate personal authority through our hard work. But it becomes crystallized, and then we become
Right.
uncomfortable because we want to grow beyond its boundaries. And that's where Uranus comes in, and it helps us break free from those restrictions.
Yeah.
And again,
It's
sometimes it's very shocking.
yeah, yeah, it can sometimes be. It's just amazes me how the astrology and the stars they really do mirror what, of course, I mean, I know this is how it works, but it just is amazing how it mirrors what we're all going through as humans. Like we are absolutely in that point in the world right now where we're pulling out of that 3D matrix, the control matrix, and moving into that Aquarian energy of freedom and authenticity. It really is amazing how it all comes together. There was something else I was going to say there, but I'm going to blame this on eclipse energies. My train just went off the tracks. It's gone. Maybe it'll come
I do
back.
that all
Maybe it won't.
the time. I do that all the time with astrology stuff. Oh, darn. The
And
eclipse. It's totally the eclipse. No, I'm kidding. But
oh
no,
dear.
it is exactly that. And speaking of the astrology, the other thing that's coming through right now is we have Saturn just moved into Aries on Valentine's Day. And so that marks the start of a new cycle. Aries is a cardinal sign, but it's also the first sign on the world axis. It is, a brand new beginning. And then having Saturn conjunct Neptune, this hasn't happened for thousands of years. It's a brand new cycle that's opening. And so, again, having that in coordination with eclipse, moving into the fire horse, like this really is unprecedented energy, especially for all of us. We've never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. And so that is absolutely what's happening. Like we have that master of the control system, Saturn, shifting into a brand new timeline. So everything from the past, it's not that we're going to forget it. It's not that it just suddenly poof is gone, but it is energetically concluded. And we are now free to step into a higher timeline. But again, we create our timeline with our perception and with our choices. And so it is up to each individual to make what choices they want to for themselves. But just know that you are empowered to do this at this time. You have so many energies supporting you through the eclipse, that change and transformation, shifting you into the authenticity of Aquarius, the truth that you seek to live. Saturn and Neptune conjuncted the 0 degree of Aries, which becomes exact on the 20th, by the way. So we're feeling that energy build as well, even post
Yeah.
eclipse. But that's like the hero's journey. Like that's the call to adventure. That's the,
Yeah.
we're embarking on a totally new trajectory where your soul's calling. And then Venus conjunct the North Node, which again is that kind of divine feminine inner knowing and that heart's desire compelling you towards your spiritual purpose. All
Yeah.
these things are synchronized at this time. So it
Yeah.
really is up to each person to follow, to heed the call, and to know you can leave the past in the past now. It
Yeah.
doesn't have power over you. The only power it holds is illusion if
Yeah.
you let it, right?
Yeah,
But that's the thing.
exactly. Exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up too, and just a reminder to all the beautiful souls out there watching this that tomorrow, February 17th, is like Christina was just describing. It is such a powerful gateway for you to, if you want to take a little bit of time tomorrow, and in whatever way feels right to you, you can let the universe know what it is you want to focus on, what is a choice point for you, perhaps in some area of your life, what's important to you. And whether you do that in a written declaration, in a meditation, just acknowledging that, okay, this is where my focus is, this is what I choose to carry forward through this very powerful portal of energy. It's a really, really good opportunity. Like you say, the energies are there to support us in doing that. So definitely a powerful gateway tomorrow to take a little bit of time for ourselves and just say what is important to us. And if there's nothing specific that you feel in your life right now that comes up for you, it can always be just as simple as making the declaration of being in service to others as opposed to service to self, because that's the, like you say, the beautiful heart-centered compassionate energies and the rise of the divine feminine. Those beautiful energies are what we're moving into in the age of Aquarius. So putting our focus on service to others is certainly being in the flow of that energy. Yeah.
Absolutely. And part of the astrology as well, we have the asteroid Mary Magdalena in opposition to the eclipse itself. So she's in the sign of Leo. Now, Mary Magdalena is the feminine Christ consciousness. And so again, we have that servant's heart, that desire to be of service, and that love that comes from the most pure, innocent parts of ourselves because it's in Leo. So we're talking about the inner child, the purity of the inner child, the joy that we feel, the light that we carry, the things that are unique to us, taking that and giving it to others in service. That's moving it into the energy of Aquarius, which is doing things in service of the collective. So if you're not sure what you want to ask for, what intentions you want to set at this time, my recommendation would be to move into your heart space and connect with your inner child. Because if it's rooted in joy or delight, that really high frequency, it's going to be in alignment.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Absolutely. And that's so much a part of doing our inner work and moving through this ascension process is to get back to that energy of living from our inner child energy, like you say, the pure delight and the joy, which means having done for so many of us. I mean, we all go through our wounds as we're growing up. It's nobody can avoid it. That's where a lot of our biggest learnings come from. And for those of us who identify with the feeling of being a healer in some way, shape, or form, the Chiron as the wounded healer reminds us that that is where some of our biggest wisdom and our biggest healing abilities come from, is having done our own inner work and then being able to share that what we've been through experientially, to share it with others to help bring them healing as well. Yeah, it's a big hero's journey right now for sure, isn't it?
And it's funny you mentioned Chiron because that's part of the eclipse as well, which I didn't really talk about it in my video because there was just so much to talk about. But we do have Chiron in Aries, conjunct goddess asteroid Ceres. And then the two of them are forming a sextile, which is a helpful, harmonious aspect to Chariklo in Aquarius, which is our divine feminine wounded healer. She's the counterpart to Chiron. And she is conjunct with Mars, conjunct Vesta, which is another goddess asteroid, which I know that's a mouthful. There's a reason I didn't talk about this in my video. Um, but essentially, we have this masculine energy wise, right? Polarity wise, we have this masculine motivation towards truth and authenticity that we are devoting ourselves to. And through that journey, we find this kind of shamanic healing that rises as our truth rises within us, right? And we can see those wounds so much clearer. You know, we're talking about healing the inner child. We're talking about what we need to let go from the past, right? Because that is part of the hero's journey. We can't take the past with us. I mean, we can take it with us transformed, but we can't take it with us in its original form. We have to heal. And, you know, we all know that quote by Rumi, you know, the wound is where the light enters you. So, absolutely, that is exactly what we're going through right now. And again, those are also making an aspect to that Mary Magdalena asteroid in Leo. So, there is this inner child healing coming through this eclipse as well. And you and I have talked about this before. The inner child is like the crux of it all, right? Like it's where everything comes back to that inner child. You can layer on all these other issues and, you know, dynamics throughout your life that have challenged you, but when you get to the heart of it, it all has to do with the inner child. So we're being offered, again, telepathy, ideas, you know, insights, clarity, Uranus, like zapping us with with understanding. We're getting insights into what those wounds really are, how deep they really run. Again, Mercury, trine, Jupiter, and Cancer. Cancer is all about family, upbringing, and the root system of our psyche and our emotions. And Mercury is our mind, right? So we're coming into this conscious understanding, or these things are being introduced to us through this eclipse that allow us, that empower us to change the energy, the dynamic, the relationship with those things, and to use it as a source of power, as a source of healing for self and others. And then as Mercury, so right now Mercury is pre-retrograde. So it's sort of like it's collecting all this information, but it doesn't really know what to do with it. It's like, okay, well, I've got all these notes, but I have to sort through them, right? Well, when it goes retrograde on the 25th, that's when it goes back through its notes and it starts to sort through all the information. So it's kind of like Jupiter is delivering like an aha through this eclipse, like, hey, this is the missing key to those problems, to that inner child wounding, to the past history, you know, what you've been carrying that doesn't really align with your authenticity and your sovereignty moving forward that needs to be healed. So then Mercury goes retrograde. We're able to integrate that information into consciousness and to find healing through that. And then it will turn direct the day before astrological New Year on March 19th. Yeah, it's
Wow.
all happening. March is going to be another really big month, by the way.
Oh,
There's just,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
Because then on March 3rd, we've got our second eclipse too. Yeah. And yeah,
free
just a little bit of energy we're moving through this month. Holy smokes.
a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, there's a lot. And I'll be doing videos on those things. I kind of like to parcel it because it's a lot to talk about. But yeah, this isn't just an isolated event, this eclipse that we're in. We have thing after thing after thing. Like we are rolling through a wave of change right now. And again, allow yourself to be carried by it. You know, don't swim against the tide. Let yourself be changed, let yourself be moved, and trust that everything that's happening, because again, change is hard. It doesn't matter if you're the most laid back, you know, drunken master out there. It's still going to be this kind of like, whoa, the ground I thought I was standing on is suddenly shaking. You know, there's that disorientation and that insecurity that comes with change. And it really is an opportunity for all of us to step into the spiritual wisdom and tools that we have gained through these past 3 years of Saturn going through Pisces and teaching us spiritual discipline, right? Now's the chance that we have to put it into practice,
Yeah.
and allow ourselves to be moved, allow ourselves to trust and have faith that everything that's unfolding is as it's
Yeah.
meant to.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important. It's it's kind of a bit of a dance between trusting and going with the flow and also embracing our sovereignty at the same time, which means, taking responsibility for our thoughts, our words, our actions, our decisions. And that applies sovereignty applies on all levels for us. Sovereignty and authority over our physical body, over our emotions, over our decisions, over our spirituality. So I think the energies are there to support us in doing that. Like you say, it's kind of a choice point energy moving through this eclipse, and even making an intention of that of taking on and embracing our sovereignty is probably a pretty good place to start as we move through some of these big energies. And we're gonna see so much in the outer world. I think especially over these next couple months, for sure we're gonna see um the dissolving and the breaking down of so many foundational areas in society, economically, politically, so many different areas. And I think it's so important, like you were saying, to take hold of our spiritual tools that we know work for us each individually, to come back to center and to ground so often, because it's going to be easy to be distracted by these huge changes, these tower card moments, right, that are going to be happening in the outer world more and more all the time. And it's so important for us to come back, have those tools to come back into our center. And it can be, one of the most simple ones that I love is anything breathing related, because our breath is the first thing that changes in our body physiologically whenever we feel any kind of stress. So just focusing on heart breathing, where you picture the breath coming in and out through the heart space, it just brings us out of the very busy mind, back into the body, back into the heart. That can be so helpful. Having a good sea salt, Epsom salt bath, one of the really great grounding things to do. um, Candle gazing, I like that one too. Sometimes if we find that meditation, if we feel like we're not maybe getting anywhere with meditation as far as feeling ourselves relax, I always find candle gazing, where you just let your eyes be heavy and kind of heavy lidded, and you just stare at that flame. That can be so relaxing and grounding and centering, brings us back in and connects us to the divine flame that's always there within us too. So I think it's definitely a time when we grab hold of every trick and technique we've ever used. And certainly, I just have to say too, I mean, of course, one of the best ways to ground, depending on where you live and what the temperature's like outside, but if you can get bare feet on ground, always the best, or hug a tree. Right now in Canada, we have so much snow and it's been extremely cold. So I won't be doing the barefoot on the ground thing right now, but just whatever works for us, right? Help us move, use these energies to help us move with the flow and be supported by making these choices and standing in our sovereignty, while at the same time, doing our grounding work. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love, in one of your videos recently, you talked about sovereignty, being reminded that sovereignty means personal responsibility. Taking responsibility for yourself is sovereignty. It's not just about like, this is my right, this is my entitlement, or whatever people might associate with it. It's more about, no, this is my responsibility to choose my direction and my path. And that
Exactly.
is a blessing, but it's also a responsibility, right? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so absolutely, making those choices and empowering ourselves to take back our sovereignty. Because yes, sorry, there were so many thoughts,
Oh,
as
that's
there
okay.
always are when you're talking. Um,
That's
when
good.
we watch when we watch the old system collapse, it's important to realize, this is the energy of Pluto, right? This is Pluto in Aquarius, and Pluto is the transformer, but it transforms through pain and through death, and it rebirths, right? It transcends, it transmutes. But the shadow of Pluto is the archetype, whatever it is we're talking about, in this case, the old system. When something is aligned with the shadow, it will resist that change, and it will do whatever it can to resist. It will claw and cling to the old ways, and it will burn everything to the ground if it can in its attempt to stay alive, right?
Yeah.
So we will see probably a lot of chaos and a lot of turmoil, and we will see an old dying system creating calamity and chaos as it tries to bring everything down with it. All in
Yeah.
this attempt to stay alive, which
Yeah.
it cannot, it will not. And
Yeah.
so, like you were saying, it's important to remember that yes, we are a part of that because we are here, we're witnessing it, we've been in it. That's the old timeline. But also, you are a sovereign being, you are a powerful being, and you do create your own timeline, right? You do have the ability to create, and you create with your energy and your perception and your emotion. So, remaining as neutral about things as you can. And that doesn't mean being numb to it, but it means alchemizing negative emotions when they do come up.
Yeah.
And then redirecting your energy, placing it
Yeah.
where you want to put your focus, and having enough self-awareness to realize where your energy is going is also something that I struggle with at times, and it's really,
Oh,
really important.
we all do
But
for sure. Yeah.
absolutely, we're all human, right? And
Yeah.
we have these
Mhm.
brains that just, they can be really they can be really
Mhm.
imposing sometimes. And you
Yeah.
were talking about meditation and candle gazing. I love that. I use that. And also in breath work. And I will say with meditation, a specific meditation that I love that actually came through The Presence Process by Michael Brown, a great book that I recommend to people if they want to do some kind of like inner work and inner healing and really excavating those hidden things from the subconscious that need to be brought to the surface. Um, he actually has this technique in that book where you meditate, and you don't have to do it exactly as he does it, but you meditate for like 15 minutes at a time. You do continuous breathing in, out without pausing, not in like a hyperventilating way, but kind of the way
Yeah.
you breathe when you're like falling asleep and your breath is
Yeah.
like that, just continuous flow. And on the in breath, you have something that you're repeating to yourself, and you coordinate each word with each breath. And I find that this is really helpful because if your brain is running, like if you're trying to do mindfulness meditation or you're just observing your thoughts, and then the next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I was just planning my day, or I was trying to
Yeah.
solve this problem. Like I can't seem to get my thoughts in order.
Yeah.
Um, it's a really nice technique to sort of, you know, get things to calm down and to place your focus in a specific place.
Nice.
So that's something that I do. And it's just sort of like, I think the way that he does it in his book is he says, I am here now in this.
Nice.
So it's like inhale, I, exhale, am, inhale, here, now in this. And then you just repeat
Nice.
for 15. Um,
Nice.
so
Oh, there's
that's just as like a
lot of
practical tool.
exactly. Sorry, didn't mean to talk over you. But yeah, just there's so much. There is a lot of power in mantras when we find one that resonates with us for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is the point, is that you can find whatever works for you. It's just, I have found it to be a helpful tool when my mind just cannot be reined in. uh,
I know that feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, we have this collapse of the old, and it's
Yeah.
going to bring a lot of disruption. And then that feeling, even if you're someone like me, who's sort of like, yeah, let it all die. I'm so
Yeah.
ready for the new to come in. Even
Yeah.
insane, I think sometimes we can be surprised at how much it does unsettle us when things that we're familiar and that we're used to start to collapse, right? So again,
Absolutely.
grounding in yourself, just like you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're exactly right. And it's this time that we're living through right now is so much about balance. Oh my goodness. It because I don't think we can't ignore what's going on in the outer world. That would be kind of a spiritual bypassing kind of thing to do if we pretend like, yeah, the all these systems within society aren't falling apart. Well, they are, but yeah, having that balance of coming back into ourselves, because that's, as you've said, that's where we create from our inner world. And I was I was reminded of something when I was doing a little research for our chat today, just that the power of people when they are truly embracing their sovereignty, and it goes along with the power of heart coherence, which I know you've spoken of before, the heart math kind of approach, and the energy of our balanced heart center is huge. I can't remember how many feet out. It can go out hugely, but
Feet, I think. Yeah.
how
Yeah.
much is it?
I
Six?
think they say 6 feet on the heart
Yeah,
coherence
yeah,
or the
yeah.
heart website.
But yeah, exactly. So when we're standing in and embracing our sovereignty, we send out this resonance that can um, impact the world and impact people around us when we're centered in our heart and we're claiming our sovereignty. And that's how I think we can change and help create the new earth, is when we're in resonance, we're in the flow, and we're not creating change out of manipulation, which is the old control matrix that we're exiting. It's all been about control and domination by the controllers. There's a million names for them, but the controllers really sums them up. They were manipulating us to create for them, because even though they've had a whole lot of power and ability, they don't have the ability to create. And that ties into with that, the beautiful rise of the divine feminine, that creative power. That's what we're embracing, as sovereign individuals. We're stepping into our real abilities to co-create with the highest divine, a new world for ourselves that is based on freedom, authenticity, transparency, compassion, all the good stuff that we're moving into. And I think the astrology is supporting us in that, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And again, Venus conjunct the North Node, like we are moving into our spiritual purpose. And Venus is the principle of attraction and magnetism. And when you're in that sovereignty and that authenticity, when you are resonating with the frequency of your soul, your truth frequency, whatever that is, and it's going to be completely different for each and every person, right? It's totally unique. It's undoing, right? So we just moved through this big process of Saturn and Neptune transiting through Pisces. Pisces is in the domain of the 12th house. The 12th house is the house we move through before we go back into the first and we start the whole cycle over again, which is represented by them moving into Aries, right? So the 12th house is known as the house of your undoing, which sounds very, foreboding. uh, but it really is just about unlearning and undoing, because we go through the entire zodiac, all of these experiences, all of these relationships. We go through societal conditioning and imprinting and childhood imprinting and ancestry and past lives and all of these things, right? But at your core, your soul is just this pure, little light, right? Or big light, whatever. It is you, right? It is a signature that is like, this is Jacqueline. Although your soul is probably not even Jacqueline, it's probably something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But like,
yeah,
you have your soul, and
yeah,
you go through and you layer on through your life experiences, and then you move through the 12th house and you start to undo all of that. It's like taking
yeah,
out a braid, you know,
yeah,
and you start to unwind and undo and remove everything that has been layered on, and you get down to that pure essence. And then when you come back into that pure little light that you are, that's when you enter back into Aries, into the first house, and you start the cycle over again.
Yeah.
So it is about getting into that truth of who you are, free of conditions and free of all the stuff that's been layered on that's
Yeah.
not in alignment with who you truly are. And when you are in that authenticity, by the way, easier said than done. I just want to note that it is
Yeah.
easier done. But the more that you get into alignment with that authenticity, the higher your frequency is, because you are not entertaining incoherent patterns in your energy signature, right? It is
Yeah.
clear. And the
Yeah.
clearer that your energy signature is, the more magnetic you become. And
Yeah.
that's where we have divine feminine energy of like, I don't have to manipulate, I don't have to control,
Yeah.
I don't have to go outward and do anything. I simply have to be.
Yeah.
And just by being,
Exactly.
I attract. Yeah, I attract what I
Exactly.
want to create. Yeah.
Beautifully said, because and as you say, yeah, easier said than done. It's certainly it's that's our work, is doing our emotional healing work, doing our shadow work. It's so much the process of going through the layers of the onion until we get down to that, and until we get down to and heal that inner child within us. um and oh darn, train went off the tracks again. What was my point? um uh Anyways, I did want to say, you are such a good example of, in your videos, Christina, of having done the work, because your inner child just shines, your joy and your sense of humor, that is, that part of that spark that is you. And as I've said before, that's one of the things that I love about watching your videos, is it, oh, just you can see your inner child just coming out, because you love what you do and you've done the work, so you've got the clarity, you've got the alignment. And um I think that's so much a part of the ascension process too, is it's in becoming who we truly are and getting back to our authenticity and getting back to living as much as possible from that healed, beautiful inner child, joyful space. It's not about adding stuff in. It is about going through the layers, the emotional healing work, and it's all about shedding what is not us, right? That's so much a part of the spiritual path. And I didn't realize that till a lot of years in, I think, to doing the kind of spiritual healing work, is that it's not about adding stuff to become something that we think we're supposed to become that we aren't already. It's about shedding. It's like finding the sculpture within the block of clay. It's, you chip away at the clay, you let it go, and you get down to the beautiful treasure and the authenticity of who we are. And that's, the energies are supporting us in doing that for sure.
I love that analogy, the sculptor. It's so true, and you're right. That's the thing, is that you are already whole and complete. You don't need anything. You already are. You are love. We are all love, right? And love is creation. I know that's a very hippie thing to say, but
It's
it
great.
is like the creative force, right?
Yeah.
And it really is that process of chipping away at what illusion has been placed on top of that. Um,
Yeah.
and and I wanted to know, I mean, thank you so much. That was so sweet what you said about me and my inner
Oh,
child. And yeah, she and I vibe.
all true.
We're very we I had to, but I have to say, like, that's taken a lot of work, and I've had to
Mm,
really liberate her, because it's been a lifetime of suppressing her and putting
yeah.
layers on top of her and feeling like I have to behave a certain way or be a certain way to fit into society or to keep the relationships that I have, or
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
safe, right? We have this
Hmm.
illusion that if I do this and that, then I'll be safe. That's like the unconscious thing behind everything. But I also want to say, and I mean, I'm I'm happy with where I am and I'm proud of the work I've done, but it's an ongoing process. Like I'm
Yeah,
still, I'm
absolutely.
always chipping away at my marble block. There's
Yeah,
always more that I can do.
for
So I
sure.
just,
And all of
yeah,
us will be. You got it. As long as we're alive and as long as we're human, we're always going to be doing some amount of work. But the more we can do that work to live from our inner child, yeah, that the happier we're going to be, and the more that ripple goes out and affects everybody around us with that kind of joyful energy of innocence. And I think it's a way of looking at the world with the amazement of a child. You think about a little child where everything is new and there's that wonder and that's that awe. And that is,
yeah,
oh boy, when we can start getting even a little bit more to that point in our day-to-day life, oh, that's such a beautiful, beautiful way to live. And I think maybe I'll maybe do a video on this sometime in the future. One of the tools that I've loved for doing my own inner child healing work is following the work of a wonderful woman named Lucia Capaccioni, who has written several books on the power of our other hand. Is That's close to the exact title of one of her books. And it's a beautiful technique that she created, where we can use our dominant hand with a pen to represent our conscious mind, and ask the question that we want to ask to zero in on the healing we need to do, and a pen in our non-dominant hand, which can be assigned to our inner child. And so we can ask a question of our inner child: how are you doing? Put the pen in the other hand. And I have to tell you from experience, it's amazing the wisdom that and the healing that can come out of that technique. That just happens to be a technique that I've found really helpful, and I've used it with counseling clients in the past too. And a lot of people find it really helpful. There's so many tools out there, but you just reminded me of it in talking about the inner child. And yeah, the more that we can all do the healing work, I mean, it just ties in so much that I think the extent to which we can be sovereign and embrace our sovereignty. Oh, I think my connection might be frozen. It looks to me like Christina is frozen, but it's probably frozen at my end. I'm going to try and continue here, folks. I don't know if you can hear me. Um, I'll continue for a little.
oh, I got you
Oh,
back.
oh shucks. I had a feeling it was me that was probably frozen, wasn't it? From your perspective, was my visual from yeah, and from my
Yeah,
perspective, your visual is frozen, but I knew it was probably at my end. Oh, sorry, folks. For some reason, the internet's a little wonky today. We can blame it on Mercury because that's communication, can't we, Christina? Can we blame it
and
on
it's
Mercury?
pre-retrograde. It is
There.
pre-retrograde, and that's when things start to go a little haywire. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That shadow period, right? Pre and post Mercury retrograde. Sometimes those are the most challenging. Um,
Yeah,
I was yammering on about something, but mostly I think I was just saying that the emotional healing work is so tied into our sovereignty. So I think the extent to which we can each stand in our sovereignty, and like you said, which means taking responsibility for our emotional inner world and how we behave in the outer world, depends so much on how much emotional healing work we've done, for sure. Pardon me. And that again ties in with, like I've said in the past, the more we've done our emotional healing work and looked at the truth of us within ourselves and our inner world and what's true for us, the more we've really honestly looked at that, come to terms with it, integrated it back into ourselves, the more that allows us to see truth in the outer world. And I think, that's we can see that in the world right now. I think with people who have yet to wake up to the truth of the world, I think, they'll get there, but I think it is so much a reflection of where we're at in that process that we all go through of doing our emotional healing work. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you were talking about specific tools working with the inner child and the importance of healing the inner child. And I do think it comes down to that, in most cases. And I know for me, a lot of it has been just remembering my inner child because, we get so detached from that part of ourselves and we get so ingrained into adulthood and into being serious all the time
Yeah.
and into being taken seriously. And,
Yeah.
it's taken me a long time and I'm still working at it, but, remembering, I mean, if you observe children, like children are uninhibited, they're not thinking about who's watching them or what people are
Yeah.
thinking about them. They move totally fluid to how they follow their joy. They really do just
Yeah.
follow their joy wherever it takes them. And so for me, I mean, I have found the left-handed techniques helpful as well, and I've done some of those. But I've also just revisited a lot of things from my past. And, like when you watch my videos, it's like, yeah, I'm going to watch this movie that I watched as a child, or I'm going to listen to this music that I used to listen to. And, I'm going to go color or I'm going to go
Yeah.
dance. I'm going to sing. I'm going to do whatever. And it's
Yeah.
really about, and it's hard to do at first, because there is this like layer of inhibition on top of everything, this like
Yeah.
fear being totally free and fluid with yourself
Yeah.
in that way. But
Yeah.
when you start to step into that, it, it's bringing and joy into your heart. And that again is
Yeah.
part of this energy dynamic of the eclipse having, the eclipse in Aquarius, because Aquarius is freedom and it is authenticity and it is truth. There's a reason why it is opposite of Leo as a polarity, right? Because Leo is the heart and the inner child. And the creativity that comes from that space within ourselves. And with any kind of polarity in astrology, sister signs, houses, whatever, uh, the two signs need each other to be balanced. So
Right.
Leo needs to take that heart energy and put it towards a greater purpose to share it with other people, which is the energy of Aquarius. But Aquarius needs to be anchored in the heart. It needs to not be so cold and detached and focused on fixing things and more moving from a space of creativity and joy, because that's where we really can make a difference in
Yeah.
our own life, but in the lives of others as well.
Yeah.
That's where true innovation comes from, is from the heart.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And yeah, and some great examples you gave there of tapping into our inner child by doing almost anything artistic. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, just getting out some crayons, especially because that instantly takes us back to when we were younger. And yeah, little kids can be such an example, such a teaching for us on how to be in the flow. When a little kid has a hurt or something, something minor, or their emotions are hurt, or they'll they'll let it out immediately, and then boom, it's gone and they're back into their joyful space again. And I think,
That's
yeah,
like
that's
alchemy, man.
exactly, so it's a good goal for us to be to try and aim for. And there's I'm not a biblical scholar, and I'm spiritual, as opposed to religious necessarily, but there is some saying, I wish I could remember it exactly, something about um when you are as a child, that is the gateway to heaven, which, really uh, for whatever heaven means, beautiful freedom and living the way we're supposed to live from the heart. But I think it alludes to that fact that, yeah, the more that we can live from our healed inner child, the more we're all going to be able to collaborate and work together and co-create this beautiful new earth that we are 100% moving into. And I always like to remind people of that, no matter how crazy it's going to look in the outer world. And as you mentioned, we're going to see more chaos in the next, I think the rest of this year, absolutely. The rest of 2026 and these next few months, I think it's really going to ramp up. But, um, just to remember, it is the dissolving of the illusion. It is the dissolving of the control matrix. It has to come down in order that we can get to building those foundations of the new earth based on freedom and authenticity and co-creating and coming from our heart space. So it's going to happen. There's no stopping it. We're going to get there. Yeah. But boy, this eclipse portal we're moving through tomorrow. It is it's an initiation, right? Like you've so
Yeah.
often said, we're all moving through the hero's journey, the spiritual initiation. We're going to hear the call, and it's only us who can answer the call and say, yep, okay, I'm ready for this adventure. Here's what I'm focusing on. Here's what's important to me. I'm going to bring all of my gifts, which come from doing the emotional work, bring those healed aspects and those beautiful gifts that come out of traveling that hero's journey, and bring them out and actualize them in the external world, which again points to what we've spoken about before in our first 5D chat. And folks, if you haven't caught that, go back if you like. We posted that about February 1st, and we had a great chat about co-creating new earth and traveling the hero's journey and so on. And when we can bring our healed aspects and our gifts that we've uncovered by doing this work, and we can bring it out and actualize it in the outer world, that's the perfect example of the hero's gamos, of doing the healing that leads us to the balance within of divine feminine and sacred masculine. And I can just picture it. The more that we all do this healing work, and we're able to stand in our sovereignty, and we've got that at least closer to the good balance of divine feminine and masculine within us, we just become that resonant ripple, and it just flows outward. And as we all come together and collaborate, boy, like the power, I'm actually getting goosebumps right now. That's, yeah, beautiful, beautiful spirits going, oh yeah, this is where the good stuff is. This is what leads us to all working together to really, really create new earth. And we're doing it. There's no stopping it now, for sure. And I have a feeling my connection has been a little bit in and out still. So maybe we'll come close to wrapping up here, but I want to give you a chance. Anything else you want to add in before we sign off? And also to let people know how they can get hold of you, where to find you, and I'll put that information under this video as well. But anything else you want to add before we sign off and get ready to hop on our fire horses tomorrow and go through this portal?
No, I think just what you were saying about creation, and even farther back when you were talking about the controllers and how they cannot create, they just manipulate. And again, it's recognizing that everything really is an illusion, this illusion of control. It's not really there. It's just hijacking your perception and your consciousness to believe something, because your belief is what creates everything, right? So it's really, again, stepping into that sovereignty, aka personal responsibility, and choosing the path that you want to walk. And it's looking at things honestly and clearly for what they are, but also saying, no, like I'm not going to be a part of that. And I see it and I give it love, but I'm not going to be a part of that. This is what I want to create, because I am the creator, right? I am the creator embodied, and I create from my heart space, and this is what I want to see manifest. And that's the energy that we can move through this portal with,
Yeah,
to set that intention, really anchoring into the heart space. And
beautiful.
honestly, like I think it's gonna take
Yeah.
us by storm as we keep going forward here.
Absolutely. I love it. That's beautifully said. And as you were saying that, it brought to mind a meme that I've seen go around in the last few years, which is like so many memes, very simple but very powerful. And it's a bunch of people kind of on their hands and knees. So their backs are the surface, and there's a big monopoly board on top of all of our backs with the oligarchy seated around. And, it so clearly shows us, boy, we just have to stand up. one by one on our own in our own perfect divine timing when we've done the work and we see the truth out there, and all we have to do is stand up and the game's over. And it's happening. It's happening 100%. Yeah. Yeah, because it's really it's us that has the power. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh,
And I wanted to say, I'm going to be posting this video on my channel as well. So I'm going to have your information on there as well.
yeah,
So if anyone wants to find Jacqueline, she's got a YouTube channel, she's got a website. I'll post everything below there. And then, yeah, for me, I'm here on YouTube, Zenith Glow Astrology. I have my own website, zenithglowastrology.com, and you can also find me on TikTok and Instagram, and I have a Substack
nice.
if you want to read that. I don't write
Awesome.
as much as it's still there.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I want to say once again to everybody watching, if you want a fantastic astrology reading that combines spiritual wisdom and depth astrology and evolutionary astrology, go look up Christina, because you'll be so happy that you did. It'll bring you clarity on your path for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Christina. It's been so wonderful to do another 5D cup of tea. And to everybody, you got it. You got it. Get into that inner child mode, start dancing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing that can get us into inner child mode instantly. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Listening to
much.
Frankie Valley.
Oh, exactly. We were talking about that beforehand. I love it. I love it. Love
Yeah.
Belly. I'm aging myself
Oh.
there, but hey, whatever brings us
I
joy.
mean, I was listening to it too. So
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. You're an old soul. That's why.
uh,
You're you're young at heart and you're an old soul. All right. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. And please do give us a like and a subscribe on both of our YouTube channels, Jacqueline Middleton Coaching YouTube channel, Zenith Glow Astrology channel. I probably pointed the wrong way. We really appreciate your support. We wouldn't be here doing it if it wasn't for all of you watching. So please take a moment and like and subscribe. And if there's something in this that you think somebody else would benefit from, please share. Okay, we'll see you again for another 5D cup of tea. Take care. Have a good day, everybody.